morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Please help me thank the AMC Band and the Honor Guard for this beautiful ceremony this morning. You know, all of our lives are marked by the significant moments in them. You know, when you get married or when you have a new baby or a new grandbaby, those are the moments in life that mean the most to us. And today is such an event for the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Today, it's an important day for us, for the community of Huntsville, for the state of Alabama, and for all of the citizens of this fantastic state. Today, Space and Rocket Center is fulfilling its duty as an affiliate of the Smithsonian Institution. The Smithsonian likes to call the affiliates Smithsonian in your neighborhood. And today, what we are doing, we are proudly adding this amazing vehicle, the F-16 Falcon, in the historic Tuskegee Airmen red tail livery to our permanent collection for future generations both to enjoy and to be inspired by. And like most of life's milestone occasions, it's way more fun when your family and friends are there with you, and I'm delighted to have all of you here today, our family and our friends. I'd like to join you in welcoming this morning the Commanding General of the Army Materiel Command, General Dennis By, Mrs. Linda By, and Bradley. We're so glad you all came. As I said at breakfast, they really wanted to be here. They cut short a vacation in the Bahamas to be here. So thank you for coming this morning. And if you'll hold your applause, please, for the rest of our distinguished guests. We have Command Sergeant Major James Sims, Command Sergeant Major, Army Materiel Command. Lieutenant General Patricia McQuiston, Deputy Commanding General of the Army Materiel Command. Major General Mark McDonald, Commander of the United States Army Security Assistance Command, and his spouse, Ms. Connie McDonald. Major General Ole Knudsen and Ms. Liz Knudsen. Colonel Bill Marks, the Redstone Arsenal Garrison Commander, and his spouse, Lori. Ms. Lisa Carpenter. Colonel Dave Carpenter, the Fox Army Health Care Center, and his daughter, Madeline. Welcome, we're glad to have you. Mr. Robert Moore, Deputy the Commanding General, United States Army Security Assistance Command. From the City of Huntsville, Mayor Tommy Battle, Huntsville City Councilman Richard Showers and Councilman Bill Kling and his wife Tangi. From the City of Madison, Mayor Troy Trulock and his wife Dana. Councilman Mike Potter and his wife Patricia. And from our Alabama legislature, we have Representative Laura Hall, Representative Mike Ball, Representative Jim Patterson, Representative Matt McCutcheon, Representative Howard Sandiford, who's also a member of our board, and Representative Bill Williams. For our Alabama congressional delegation, we have Kerry Scruggs, Senator Shelby's office, and Representative Congressman Mo Brooks' office, Ms. Sandy Garvey. From the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission, which is my boss and board of directors, the center's governing body, our chairman, Colonel Roosevelt Lewis, Vice Chairman, Mr. Joe Fitzgerald, Lieutenant Colonel Allison Miller and her family, Mr. Tony Zana and his son, Ms. Lisa Williams, and our Alabama Tourism Director, Lee Sintell, who is also a member of our board, and Dr. Wayman Burke. From the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Foundation, we're joined by Ms. Jan Smith and her guest, Mr. Tony Potter, as well as Mr. Tom Butler, who is also in our foundation. We're pleased to welcome our sponsors and longtime partners for today's events. Presenting sponsor today is Lockheed Martin. PPG is also one of our major sponsors today, and I must say, PPG makes the paint for all of these great American defense machines that you see around you here today, and it wouldn't have been possible for us to all be here to look at this red tail if it weren't for PPG and the young professionals from PPG who helped us be here today. We're also grateful to Redstone Federal Credit Union, Madison County Commissioner Bob Harrison, and Mr. Keith Starnes. Thank you all for your extraordinary work in making this event possible and for bringing your families, most of all, to experience this historic occasion. I want to send out a special welcome to all the alumni who are here. For us here at the Space and Rocket Center, this is Space Camp Alumni Weekend. So it was a wonderful conjunction of two wonderful events for the center, and welcome to all of our alumni and members of our Alumni Advancement Board. I especially want to thank also my people, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center staff, and the volunteers who put in hundreds of man-hours in refurbishing this F-16 you see behind us here into the sleek and powerful machine that defends our nation so well. And of course, it's with the greatest of pride that I'm able to say we're joined today by our honorable 7 guests from the Tuskegee Airmen, whose descendant reserve air wings still fly this aircraft today in this livery, in this configuration. So now I want you to hear the full story of these gentlemen, these heroes from our nation. And here to tell their story is the Vice Chairman of the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission and the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, Mr. Joe Fitzgerald.
Tuskegee Airmen, the name given to U.S. Air Force African-American flyers and maintenance crews who trained at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama during World War II. Tuskegee Airmen were fighter pilots in the 332nd Fighter Group, consisting of the 99th, the 100th, the 301st, the 302nd Fighter Squadrons. The 99th Fighter Squadron was activated at Tuskegee Institute on July the 19th, 1941, and was assigned the P-40 Warhawks. In the spring of 1943, the 99th Fighter Squadron, under the command of Colonel Benjamin Davis, was sent to North Africa and saw action in North Africa, Sicily, and Italy. In February of 1944, the 100th, the 301st, and 302nd Fighter Squadrons, comprising the 332nd Fighter Group, began flying combat operations in Italy as a part of the 12th Air Force. In April, they were transferred to the 15th Air Force near Foggia, Italy. And in July, the 99th Fighter Squadron was transferred to the group and was assigned P-51 Mustangs. Fighter groups give their tails a distinctive paint scheme, both for easy recognition and for esprit de corps. Lieutenant Colonel Herbert Carter of the Tuskegee Airmen said, "We got the reddest paint we could find and painted our aircraft." We wanted the bomber crews to know when we were escorting them, and we wanted to make sure that the Luftwaffe knew when we were in their territory. This led to the 332nd Fighter Group's nickname, the Red Tails. Their primary mission was to provide escort services to the 17 bomber groups of the 15th Air Force, the B-17 Flying Fortresses, and the B-24 Liberators on their missions striking targets in Southern Europe. Colonel Davis insisted that his men stay close to the bombers that they were escorting. They did not peel away to chase or engage German fighters, leaving the bombers unprotected. The bomber crews referred to the 332nd pilots as red-tailed angels. The Red Tails. Observations by bomber pilots and crews were when the Red Tails came alongside, you were happy. The Red Tails stayed with us, where we wanted them to be. The average number of bombers lost by other fighter escort groups of the 15th Air Force was nearly double the loss rate of the bombers protected by the Tuskegee Airmen, the Red Tails. The Tuskegee Airmen overcame many obstacles on their way to combat. Their exemplary performance opened the door for racial integration of our military. The combat record of the Tuskegee Airmen speaks for itself. Over 15,000 combat sorties, 111 German airplanes destroyed in the air and another 150 on the ground. 950 rail cars, trucks, and other motor vehicles destroyed. 66 Tuskegee pilots killed. 32 Tuskegee pilots downed, captured, and POWs. 150 distinguished flying crosses, 744 air medals, 8 Purple Hearts, 14 Bronze Stars, and countless saved lives. From the squadrons that returned from World War II, many of the pilots and crewmen went on to serve their country again in Korea and in Vietnam, carrying the legacy of the 332nd and the Tuskegee Airmen with them. One such pilot was Woodrow Crockett, whose nephew, Bob Harrison, is with us today. Crockett served in the 99th Fighter Squadron when they flew in support of the invasion of Sicily and went on to fly in both Korea and Vietnam. Crockett received several medals for his bravery, courage, and valor in combat, as well as rescuing pilots from their downed and burning planes on 2 separate occasions. In addition, Crockett served as a test pilot, flying advanced aircraft like the U-2 spy plane, the SR-71, and the F-80 Thunderjet. Woodrow Crockett was passed away in 2012. Commissioner Harrison, we're thankful that you provided this special story that we could share it with our audience this morning. The 100th Fighter Squadron of the F-16 Fighting Falcons traces its unit history to the Tuskegee Airmen. It is a squadron of the 187th Fighter Wing in the Alabama Air National Guard in Montgomery, Alabama, the Red Tails. The wing has been deployed to combat 9 times since the end of Operation Desert Storm. Quoting the wing commander, Colonel Samuel Black, "The men and women of the 187th never shrink from a challenge, and they always strive to display the same honor, the same integrity, and the same courage and tenacity as the Tuskegee Airmen, the Red Tails." The history of the Tuskegee Airmen is a story of strength, courage, and leadership, both on and off the airfield. These men have demonstrated bravery in the face of adversity. For their deeds and for their sacrifices, our nation will remain forever grateful. Today, we are in the company of heroes, Tuskegee Airmen, the Red Tails.
Ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome to the stage U.S. Air Force Colonel Retired and Chairman of the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission, Colonel Roosevelt Lewis. Colonel Lewis himself is a second-generation Tuskegee Airman, having been instructed to fly in the United States Air Force by C. Alfred Anderson, Chief Flight Instructor of the Tuskegee Airmen. Colonel Lewis.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an awfully special moment for me. As a graduate of Tuskegee University in chemistry, as a kid of 16, C. Alfred Chief Anderson, the Chief Flight Instructor of the Airmen, took me for my first flight. I stand here 6,600 plus hours later, indebted it to that particular flight and these young 90-year-old plus teenagers of mine for being the wind beneath my wings. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce these remarkable Americans. Leo Gray on the end. Leo Gray served with distinction as a fighter pilot on air-to-air, air-to-mud missions and participated in the famous escort missions of Allied bombers during World War II. One of his missions included sighting an ME-262 formation that decided that they were going to roll in on them. This was an airplane that had the highest technology of the time, over 100 knots faster than the red-tailed P-51, had a ceiling over 13,000 feet higher. They were escorting a P-38 Lightning recon bird on a secret mission. When they rolled in on the aircraft and they saw the red tails, they broke off and they left them alone. You see, on the longest mission of the war, over 1,600 nautical miles from the red tail base at Ramitelli, Italy, to the first bombing of Berlin that the Tuskegee Airmen, the 332nd, escorted, these folks of the 100th Squadron knocked down 3 of the ME-262s, damaged 3 of the aircraft, and had 3 other probables from that unit that decided they did not want anything to do with the Red Tails. Leo Gray was a member of the 100th Squadron, just an absolutely incredible young man who grew up to do good things, and Leo has been a friend for many, many years and continues to mentor young folk like me and others to bring them up in the American way. George Hardy. George Hardy George Hardy served in 3 wars for this nation. He served during World War II as a red-tail pilot. He served in Korea. Then he served in Vietnam. George is one of those young men, a 19-year-old that was a red tail. My goodness, he couldn't wait to get in the fight. He couldn't wait to do what he could for his country. When you define patriotism, you look at guys like General Benjamin O. Davis Jr., General Daniel Chappie James. You look at George Hardy. Thank you so much, George. James Shepard. Ladies and gentlemen, as a loggie, ladies and gentlemen, all of the pilots of the 332nd, every Tuskegee Airman knew that they had swagger as pilots. They could step out there, they could smile, and the ladies would fall beside the line. Oh, did I say that? Who said that? But James Shepard made that possible because this was one of the elite maintenance bosses of the Tuskegee Airmen. Everything that the pilots did, they did because of guys like Jim Shepard, because he maintained their airplanes. He made it possible for those airplanes to go on those missions and come home. James Shepard has been a mentor, has been a person who has helped with the Tuskegee Airmen history to make sure it's chronicled correctly. And James Shepard made sure that his planes got to the front and got back home. James Shepard. Thank you, sir. Enoch Woodhouse II. This young man was born in New York City, ended up deciding he wanted to be a Tuskegee Airman, served at Lockburn Air Force Base, Ohio, under General Benjamin O. Davis Jr., and he's a Yale-trained Boston lawyer. Be careful around this guy. He indeed not only was a Yale-trained lawyer, but he was the first black JAG, Judge Advocate General, member in the Air Force for the Tuskegee Airmen. Not only that, Bill Javis Jr. chose him as the paymaster. In those days, you didn't have checks that appeared in your bank. You got cash, cold cash, handed to you on every payday. Thank you for paying the guys so they would do the job. Ladies and gentlemen, each and every Tuskegee Airman story is a unique story, one that has many layers, many shades. Donald Elder. Donald Elder served at Lockburn Air Force Base, Ohio, as an aircraft mechanic. This man understood what discipline was about. He understood what integrity was about. He understood professionalism. Why? Because this man met General B.O. Davis Jr. on numerous times on the flight line, and he said once to me, you only had to have that encounter once to understand what he wanted. One of the things that he did was to help our Tuskegee Airmen prior to integration in the armed forces prepare the P-47N model aircraft to go on the first Top Gun gunnery meet for the Department of Defense out at Nellis Air Force Base. Ladies and gentlemen, flying the P-47 propeller-driven N, they won by 24 points in the first competition of the Top Gun. Donald Elder helped keep those airplanes of the Tuskegee Airmen going. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our elder statesman at this day and time for the Tuskegee Airmen instructors, Milton Pitts Crenshaw, a young kid that came from Little Rock, Arkansas. "95 years young." Ladies and gentlemen, 95 years young. Milton Crenshaw is a historic figure in aviation in the country, but especially in Arkansas, where he's known as the father of black aviation in Arkansas. He came to Tuskegee and got involved into the aviation program, was one of the first 10 picked for the civilian pilot training program, ended up getting his license, and he was one of the great sticks of that program. He ended up as a flight instructor, and he kicked many of the Tuskegee Airmen out of the nest. And in fact, sitting on my far left is Leo Gray, one of his students and a red tail pilot. He identified the cadets like Leo Gray that he thought would go on to become the red tails of the future. Milton Pitts Crenshaw comes from a distinguished family in Little Rock, Arkansas. His father, Reverend Crenshaw, was one of the community leaders that worked across all lines to make sure the 1957 Central High School event there that involved the President of the United States, President Eisenhower, did not get out of hand. The family has made tremendous contributions to the Little Rock area and to the nation. Milton Pitts Crenshaw. Colonel Charles McGee. Colonel Charles McGee was born December 7, 1990 in Cleveland, Ohio. Graduated July 30, 43 in class 43F at the Tuskegee Army Airfield. Ladies and gentlemen, this is no ordinary fighter pilot. He served in 3 wars: World War II, Korea, Vietnam. He has among the highest total of combat flying missions in the history of this nation. During World War II, he flew the P-39, the Air Cobra, the P-47 Jug, and the P-51 Red Tail with the 302nd Fighter Squadron, the 332nd Fighter Group. In Korea, he flew the P-51 Mustang with the famous 67th Fighter Bomber Squadron. In Vietnam, he flew the RF-4C with the 16th Tactical Recon Squadron on some of the most critical missions of the war. You see, he was a recon pilot. And after everybody had gone in and stirred up the hornet's nest and had all the SAMs fly up and they had a chance to reload, this man had to go in to assess the damage when the hornet's nest was at its height and when everybody was after him. And with cold nerves of steel, this man went in, took the pictures that were needed to save the lives of Americans that day, next week, the week after that, and the next month. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Charles McGee, 3 wars. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a definition for me for the Tuskegee Airmen, and that's something I heard from Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., when I was a 16-year-old ROTC kid at Tuskegee University. He said, young people, make a commitment to excellence. Make a commitment to excellence. Aim high. And that was before the Air Force picked that up as a slogan. He also said, make sure that you do your best on everything that you do. Because your performance, ladies and gentlemen, is your measure of merit. It is your reputation, and it goes far before you in this life. Your performance is your measure of merit. Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., Daniel Chappie James. He says, my mom told us, for everybody else, they're the 10 commandments. For us, there is an 11th commandment. Thou shalt not quit. As a 19-year-old flight instructor hired by C. Alfred Chief Anderson, he imparted that on his students also. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Tuskegee Airmen, and I ask Colonel McGee to come up and respond.
Officials, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, you have honored us. But some words have been taken out of my mouth already. But let me tell you, there are 5 phases to the Tuskegee experience. But there's also a prelude to the ladies present. That prelude begins with Bessie Coleman, who in 1920 went to France to learn to fly, came back to this country, and influenced many Americans across the country barnstorming, talking about this fledgling industry of aviation. She lost her life. But at the same time, the Army Air Corps, in developing policy, determined that, and it was through what they called facts, but today I say there were biases, generalizations, and yes, in some cases, racism, that because of our happenstance of birth, we were not qualified in any technical area. We could dig ditches, build roads, cook food, drive trucks, but fly an airplane, not possible. Fortunately, our experience, and it begins with the mechanics like Jim Shepard here that we represent. We stand for a lot of folks, the mechanics, the technicians, the support, the instructors that made it possible for us to write a new bit of history for our country. Certainly, we are proud that that happened. But folks, we have a tomorrow for America, and we cannot let past good things die because we're not vigilant. Thank you for what you have honored us. General, you're at the top of the heap. We salute you for that. We are proud to represent more than 900 who actually got in the air and flew the planes, but also some more than 14,000 support people in all elements that made it possible. We do not want to repeat history, but we want America to remain the number country in the world. I see some young folks here. Would all of you stand? That I see several, please, other places in the room. Folks, please stand. Yeah, please. Be proud that you can stand. Folks, we thank you for honoring us, but we honor them with these 4 P's: perceive, prepare, perform, persevere. Perceive, dream your dreams, find your talents, and all of us say, find something you enjoy doing. We did. Prepare, get a good education, learn to read, write, and speak well, but develop those talents that you dreamed about. Perform. Let excellence be your goal in everything that you do, never less than your best. And finally, persevere. Do not let circumstances be an excuse for not achieving. Thank you. God bless America.
General Dennis L. Vai is the 18th Commanding General of the United States Army Materiel Command, one of the largest commands in the U.S. Army, with nearly 67,000 soldiers and civilians, having an impact in all 50 U.S. states and 146 foreign countries around the world. If a soldier shoots it, drives it, flies it, wears it, communicates with it, or eats it. The Army Material Command provides it, giving our nation's warfighters the decisive edge whenever and wherever they're needed. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I present General Dennis L. Vine, U.S. Army.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everyone. And what a very, very special occasion, what a solemn occasion. And I am so truly honored and humbled to be in the presence of these great men and all that they represent, not only for the Tuskegee Airmen, but what they represent for the United States of America. I had the opportunity this morning just to spend a little bit of time with them, Linda and I, and along with our son. And it's hard to describe in words the feeling that I have at this point in my career as a four-star general. But I can tell you I would not be a four-star general standing before you today had it not been for the great sacrifices of these men and those others who served with them that laid the foundation on which we stand today. And I proudly stand on their shoulders, because I know it would not have been possible without what they have done. So much has been said about the legacy, as our civilian aide to Secretary of the Army spoke about this morning, Mr. Joe Fitzgerald, and to all of our distinguished guests who've taken time to join us today on this special occasion. I especially want to thank Colonel Retired Roosevelt Lewis, Dr. Deborah Barnhart, Mr. Rod McLean. Thank you for being here as well. The U.S. Space and Rocket Center and the Aviation Challenge for hosting this rededication. When I spoke to Debbie Barnhart earlier this morning, I said many people spend their time and position doing things for the here and now. The most important things we should be doing in life are those that are enduring. And so being able to pay this tribute to these men today, to the Tuskegee Airmen, by placing this aircraft here with a red tail, it'll be enduring for future generations, that it goes forward to understand what they meant, the mission that they accomplished, both overseas in fighting against the enemy, but also when they came back home to the United States and continue to carry the flag forward and lay the foundation for future generations. And this dedication today will do just that. As young men and women come through and visit, they'll be able to see a real aircraft with a red tail. They'll ask, why does it have a red tail? And that'll begin the story. And that story will go from here down to Tuskegee, and it'll go to Moulton Field. And generation after generation will talk about what they accomplished. And gentlemen, I can't tell you any more enduring legacy that you can have than what you dedicate to our future. I'm so honored to be with you this morning. It was such a tremendous honor to have our son shake your hands. And when they said, Dad, and what you've been able to accomplish, I said, you need to understand, this morning we're going to see the men who allowed Dad to be able to accomplish what he has accomplished today. And I thank you for that. And in closing, just to say, again, thank all of you for coming out today. To both of our mayors, thanks for being here as well and spending your time to be a part of this celebration today. To the last plane, to the last bullet, to the last minute, to the last man, we fight. God bless you.
And now please welcome to the stage Vice President and General Manager of the F-16, F-22 Integrated Fighter Group from the Lockheed Martin Aeronautics Company, Mr. Rod McLean.
Good morning to everyone. On behalf of Lockheed Martin, I am just so proud to be here today. The work that these men have done has really paved the way for so many that have followed. It's such an inspiration, has been such an inspiration for me. When I received the notification that this event was occurring, I said, when? I'm there. I couldn't wait to get here. Just the night before, I was sitting down with my son, and I had some F-16s, and we were painting the red tails on them, so it gave me a chance to tell the story. Had a chance to share with him, the experiences that these gentlemen had went through. But he said, Dad, the B-17 Flying Fortress, they have guns. Why do they need airplanes? I said, son, these guys did something special for the B-17s and made sure they made it to their destination and came back. The F-16 this year celebrates its 40th year of protecting the people, the lives, the freedom, the democracy across the globe. The F-16 has been sold to more than 27 of our allies. So there's a lot of countries that depend upon this fighting falcon. You gentlemen, you have inspired the folks that continue to fly the F-16, the F-22, and the F-35, the next generation fighter. So it is a pleasure, it's an honor, it's a privilege just for me to even stand on this stage. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. So General Vi, the speakers, please join me on stage with the Tuskegee Airmen as we declare the newest display here at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, ready for flight.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. If you would like to extend your personal thanks to these gentlemen, our American heroes, if you would please form a line down where the velvet ropes are here on that side of the line, we will make sure that you all have a chance to have your photograph made with the airmen and to express your thanks. Our staff will be standing here and will help you come to the stage with your family at the right time. While we will not allow the time for everyone to use their own cameras and their own cell phones, our professional photographers will take your picture with your family, and we will provide it for you free online by 7 o'clock Sunday night. We'll give you a little ticket, and you go online, and your photograph will be right there, free for you to download and send to your friends. Post on Facebook, please. We've prepared light refreshments today, and there are also special tours of our Aviation Challenge facility here, where we have the centrifuge and the cockpit fighters, where we train the Aviation Challenge people. So if you want to go on one of our tours, go to the far end of the pavilion, and one of our green flight-suited Aviation Challenge crew trainers will help you with that. If you'd like to go to the Space and Rocket Center today, we have special pricing today, so just tell them you were here for the Airmen event. And be sure to mark your calendars and come back to the Rocket Center August 25th through November 2nd. We have a new feature exhibition from the Smithsonian Institution called Black Wings, which tells the story of how African American aviators shattered these barriers of racial discrimination in the early 20th century to take to the sky, and how their legacy inspired generations of young men and women to follow their dreams of flight. Please join me in thanking our sponsors, General Vi, the AMC Band, and our honored guests, the Tuskegee Airmen. Thank you again, and please come back often to the Rocket Center.